Ok, dobar dan svima. Moje ime je Miloš Matić i dobrodošli u treću epizodu ICT Hub Venture online meetupa. Ja ću biti vaš domaćin danas i trudit ću se da protekne sve u redu. Počet ćemo sa kratkim uvodom i par tehničkih stvari koje treba da ispratite kako bi postavili pitanja i kako bi doneli neku dodatnu vrednost za vas. Danas ćemo, kao što ste sami videli, pričati o content marketingu sa Christinom Forster. Pošto je Christina nam dolazi rodom iz Austrije, ja ću preći i dalju komunikaciju održati na engleskom jeziku. Once again, welcome all to another third in a row ICT Hub Venture online meetup. My name is Miloš Matić and I will be your host today. Why actually we're doing this as an ICT Hub and ICT Hub Venture, being that my role in the ICT Hub is actually to build the startup community around ICT Hub Venture and invest in the best technology startups we can actually find in the time of crisis where we are facing great dilemmas and facing uncertainty. We want to provide you with the proper information, proper knowledge of what to do in the time where actually you can leverage the crisis and exit and leave it through with stronger than you actually entered into the crisis. So what we're doing in the ICT Hub Venture, we're, as you may see on your slides, and we're invest in early stage of development. We actually deliver the mentorship support like we're doing right now, but we're open for public as well, not only for the investments we made, we also support the community itself. Because the third step is we want to empower and make our innovation ecosystem stronger than it was yesterday. And how we're trying to do that, like I said, through in this time of crisis, we're trying to do it through online meetups because everybody are remote, everybody at their home, trying to consume as much knowledge and information they can during their quarantine or self-isolation. Today, as I said previously, we're going to talk about content marketing and the importance of it in today's world and in the world of tomorrow. As Christina said in her title, the new world, entering a new world. Behavior of people right now will change. The crisis will change them. Everything went online pretty fast, including the communications. Digital marketing exploded. So there's a lot of things, a lot of information in that sphere, trying to target as many people as it can to leverage them into buying or promoting something. And the main question I want to answer is how the startups can actually use this situation and put the content in the ether and use that to target the relevant users. Today, as a speaker, in lecture will be Christina Forster. She's a co-founder of Heartbeat's innovation and communication company, now based in Ljubljana, Slovenia, and her specialization is actually in that content marketing, content strategy, and actually communication. So, Christina, without any further ado, I want to let the digital floor to you, so you can start your presentation and start your more detailed introduction of yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Milos, and hi to everyone online. Hope everyone is okay, healthy, and doing okay during these times. I will share my screen now. Okay, Milos, I think, yeah, I can hopefully share it now. Yes. So, good. I will start the presentation now. So, yeah, entering a new world with content marketing is the title. As Milos said, that's definitely what's going to happen, what we will do, just that we don't know when. What I will talk about in the next hour or so is the current situation and what to do. Then I want to focus on content marketing in a crisis, but also on after, because after the crisis, we will enter a new normal, a new world. And I want to talk about what we can already say, what we should do, or what we can try to do. In the course of that, I want to introduce to you two approaches I believe can work really well. One is human-centered design, and the other one is responsible storytelling. And in the end, we will talk a little bit about structure, about a content plan. Yeah, good. Before we start, maybe a few more words about myself. As Milos said, I am from Austria originally, worked there in Austria as a journalist for about 9 years. That was the beginning of my career, but pretty soon, already in 2005, so I've been around for a while, I changed to online. I changed to content marketing, content management back then, worked for bigger brands like Red Bull, for example. And I really got passionate about how to build up a brand online. So actually for 15 years now, almost. Probably the most, I would say, I've learned in London. I also spent 8 years in London and worked there in online marketing departments. And that's where I learned most about really how to build up a brand online, how to create an emotional connection to a brand, and a lot about social media and so on and so on. After London, I went back to Austria and co-founded my own agency, which you see at the top left of the logos, Heartbeats Innovation and Communication. Milos mentioned it as well. And basically what we do is we focus on services for responsible businesses. So every business, every startup, every organization has an impact with what they do. And if you want to do that impact in a sustainable and responsible and long-lasting way, we offer the services for it. In course of that, I focus on communication because that's my background. As you can see, I started as a journalist, and I have a main focus on responsible communication and impact communication. And well, in the times of the crisis and the new normal, it might become even more important than it is now. So I will introduce you to that more. I spent actually the last year in Belgrade for a couple of projects and cooperated a lot with ICT Hub in that as well. I really liked it. Unfortunately, we have to leave, and are currently based, as Milos mentioned, in Ljubljana. Good, so that's about me. One more thing about me, I have 2 cats and they're a little bit high maintenance. So in case during the next hour you hear them meowing or screaming, I apologize, but it can happen. Yeah, good. Okay, I start with the current situation, but to be honest, I don't want to spend too much time on that because I think we all know in what situation we are at the moment. It's all about flatten the curve at the moment. We are all kind of forced to do our part to end this crisis or to get this crisis under control, and in that we became limited in our freedom. Yeah, so that's the one thing. The other thing is the crisis obviously can hit us from several sides. One is health, which hopefully no one is affected, that we all stay healthy. But the other one is also financially or economically, or in our being as an entrepreneur. You know, we had a plan and maybe that all changes now. So that's the world we live in at the moment. I guess for many of us, at least this kind of crisis is new. So we all are a little bit overwhelmed, and myself as well, what to do. Yeah. So what to do in times of crisis with a business or with any kind of work unit? We have to get through that crisis. And that's actually the first message I want to give, also for content marketing. Even I will give you very practical tips as well. The crisis, the immediate crisis as it is not the time to create great opportunities for you, unless it's really you're working in an industry that really needs what you're doing. But basically, this is in business development, this is in marketing, this is everywhere. A crisis needs to be survived best possible. Yeah, so it's crisis is really try to keep what you're doing stable as possible. Try to react as good as possible, but this is not the time to think big. The time to think big is afterwards, in order to get ready for the world after. Yeah, with several scenarios. I will talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, so you have actually in that moment, we have two things to look at. One is the immediate crisis, what to do with that. And the other thing we should start, of course, thinking about as well already is what should we do after? What can we do for after? Yeah, and this is exactly the two parts I want to talk about today. I start with the crisis, what to do in a crisis. So from my point of view, there are three important things to keep in mind in a case of emergency, in a case of crisis. Number one is keep in mind how your target group feels at the moment. So the target group is obviously the people you want to sell your product or your service to. Yeah, keep in mind the people you're talking to, keep in mind how they feel at the moment. We all know that the public is deeply worried at the moment, unfortunately, for very good reasons. Yeah, we also know that people are concerned about money and about finances. Yeah, we lost this innocent. I mean, everyone is in a different situation, of course, but if you are financially okay and like to buy maybe or go out for dinner this day and also the next day, so we all lost kind of this innocence or the normal as we knew it with finances and money. Number two, we have to keep in mind is that in the times of a crisis, we should think ahead in a time frame of 2 to 4 weeks, but not longer. As I said, this is not the time. We have to keep it short and we have to react immediately. Yeah, in this time, I recommend you probably have done it already, but I recommend you to review your business model and adapt. Yeah, is there something I can actually adapt to with my services in the crisis? Is there something that's needed? Yeah, I heard the craziest stories from sister of the local baker who started to do masks, and actually they sell it now. Yeah, how safe these masks are, to be honest, I don't know. But people really start to react. If you do something with food, you can do delivery and so on. So that's what I mean with reviewing your business model. The other thing when it comes to content, and in case you have a content plan, if not, don't worry, I will talk about that later. Look at the content plan and just check what is still applying and what is not. What do you have to adapt? Yeah, when it's, for example, about tourism, really difficult. Yeah, what can you still post? If it's about some outdoor activities, also difficult at the moment. Yeah, so really see what is still actually applicable and what do you have to change. And the last thing is only work with what we know at this point, which goes back to the same thing. Don't try to think crazy big at the moment, but really focus on what we know at this point in the crisis. The third thing is businesses no matter if big or small, are expected to do their part in the crisis. What does that mean? That means that you should make a stand and do not ignore the situation. I will talk about that later again. That also means that you should be as transparent, as honest as possible, and honest as possible. I mean, I would recommend you that anyway, but still, it's very, very important because people need now honesty and transparency. And of course, we all know it, move processes online if possible. So everything you can do online, try to move it online. So these are the three things we have to keep in mind in the crisis. Oops, sorry, there is an animated tip. We will come to that. So I want to talk about now how to do all of that in content marketing. And I've actually summed that up in 7 steps. So the first step is set yourself a small goal for the crisis. Even if it's a very short time, I said 2 to 4 weeks, it's really important in content marketing, even in a crisis, to work towards something. You have to focus on something because random doesn't work in content marketing. We need consistency, we need a journey, a so-called customer journey. I will talk about that later as well. And therefore, you should really understand what you're working towards. What can a small goal in a crisis be? For example, that you keep your followers when you're in trouble or when the crisis hits you really hard with your business model. It could be that you engage more followers. It could be that you build a community. It's bold here because building a community is content marketing trend number 1. At this point, I can already say that. It also could be that you want more newsletter registrations or more sales or a new product. Yeah, so as a new product that's, for example, already ready and you introduce it earlier. So think about it from everything we said before. What is applicable in this crisis? What is really needed out there? So what could be a small goal? If you have defined a small goal, you should try to put yourself in the shoes of your target group. Yeah, what does that mean? Think about it. What do they really need at this moment? Because it might not be your product or your service in its original shape. So what do they need? Do they maybe need a discount, which you maybe can give because they're scared when it comes to finances? Do they need webinars, etc.? So really think, what do they need and what can I offer them? Yeah, really both sides need to align. And my tip here is that you actually sit down and write down 5 to 10 things they really need and you really can provide. So that is number 2. Number 3 is, as I mentioned it in the slide before, make a stand as a brand. It's needed in today's world. So that means give useful tips from reliable sources, for example. Yeah, share health tips. Yeah, but also maybe share latest developments in your market. Yeah, it doesn't mean that the latest developments refer to health, but in your market, what's happening, yeah, in the crisis, and also give tips where to buy masks. So think a little bit out of your business only and make a stand how you face the crisis and give useful tips. Again, write down 3 to 5 things how you can do that. Number 4, show that you care in a new way. Offer your skills. What do I mean by that? This is the time most likely to collaborate. So I don't know if this is an option for everyone listening now, but I can tell you it's the big thing next to community building that you collaborate. For example, with NGOs. Yeah, I heard of a company that sent email to all local NGOs here and said, what do you need? We are here to help. This is also number 3, to make a stand as a brand, but it's really about collaboration and to offering your skills, how you can help. So it can be with NGOs, it can be with communities. It's also good for you because for sure they have communication capacities, which actually can be used and promote your brand, and you make a stand and show you care. So it's really a win-win situation in terms of communication. But also show how behind the scenes, mix it up a little bit. For example, if you deliver something, if you maybe contribute to delivering food to elderly people, to risk groups, and so on. So if in case you do something like that, show it as well and share. Tip here again, write down to 3 to 5 things to show that you care. So the numbers, of course, 5 to 10, 3 to 5, it's up to you. If you have more ideas, even better. Number 5 is create a content mix. So the content mix is that you take all the ideas from the tips you write down and put a structure to it, so that you mix them a little bit up. For example, that you see, okay, this today I post from the 5 to 10 things I wrote down what my target audience really needs from me. Then I mix it with what we do behind the scenes. Then I share health tips. So take everything you've written down and try to structure it a little bit. Number 6, be consistent and be present. As Milos already mentioned as well, it's everything moves online. Obviously, you know that yourself. You need to be out there. That's the truth, and we all need to be out there. So make sure when you are out there that your visual identity, I mean fonts, I mean brand colors, I mean style of images, that this is consistent, but also your brand voice. So I don't know how familiar with brand voice, but brand voice is basically just how you write copy, how you write text, and how you are perceived by the audience. So really think about, as your brand, do you want to sound supportive? Do you want to sound informative? Do you want to sound educational? Really think about it. What is your role in this crisis, with a tone of voice or a brand voice as well, and try to be consistent, because people need consistency out there now. And also decide how often you post. Decide that on your resources as well. Do you post once a day? Do you post twice a day? Do you post every 2 days? So I really would recommend to bring a structure in it. And last but not least from these tips, number 7, make sure that you create an online customer journey. So to be honest, I would do that in any class, lecture, or workshop I'm giving anyway, to talk about the online customer journey. But in the crisis, it's more important than ever. What is an online customer journey? Very shortly, it's basically very simple. The journey, your audience goes with you and with your copy, your content. Okay, so you see here a very simple graphic. I will talk you through shortly. There's always a first touch point, a first contact where you meet your audience. So that, for example, could be on social media, on Facebook, it could be a Google AdWord, and so on. So you post on Facebook, and that's where you start the conversation, the communication with your target audience. If you now have a message from one of your content ideas they find appealing and they find important for themselves, it's very important where you send them next. So if you have a link, for example, on Facebook and they click, where do you send them? And it's very important that you send them somewhere where their journey with the content you got them continues. So for example, if you have moved all your processes online and you share that in a Facebook post, don't just send them to your homepage, but send them to where it's the topic of online processes or how to do it continues. So really try to understand how will their journey look like, and don't send them to more than 2 stations before you send them to the actual goal you have defined. Remember, number 1 was to define a small goal. So for example, if we would have newsletter registrations as a small goal, they should be sent to sign up for a newsletter after maximum 2 clicks. Yeah, if you have a goal to build up a community or a Facebook group, for example, it should be join our Facebook group here now. Yeah, it can be also directly from the first contact, but sometimes other information is needed, and also people then spend more time on your page if you send them to other stations as well. So, but it really should end with your small goal, because that's what you want, right? You want to achieve that goal. So I hope that was understandable. If not, you can type your questions anytime, of course, in the chat, and we can talk about later. So these are the 7 tips what I would recommend you to do as with content marketing during the immediate crisis right now. Yeah. As we said, we should also not only think about the crisis, but also about thinking what is happening afterwards. So I, on purpose, try to avoid the word crisis, because I already mentioned it now probably 25 times. I mean, we are in a crisis, but there will be something after the crisis. And whatever it is, it will be new to us. It's very unlikely that we go back to the normal as we know it, at least not anytime soon. So before we talk about entering this new world with content marketing, I want to look very shortly at what do we know at this point. Yeah, because we don't know that much. So at this point, we know there is 2 winners of this crisis. Number 1 is technology. As Milos mentioned, everything is moving online. If you're working in tech, which I think is quite likely, you are one of the winners. Yeah, I mean, winner might not be the right word here, but technology is needed, and it will be needed no matter what happens after. So that's one winner. And the other one is planet Earth, because we suddenly all stopped traveling. We had to, and air pollution or any other environmental issues are really already decreasing and recovering. What do we know as well at this point? That, well, people will probably only show basics. I'm really trying to keep myself updated there, and in most studies say people will be scared to spend money how they used to be. I mentioned it in the beginning as well, so that's also something we have to keep in mind. We will not go back to our behavior as we had it, and we will probably develop a new relationship with spending money, and only shop basics for a while. There's also the possibility of a second or more COVID-19 waves. I have no idea how likely it is, but the rumors are around, and so people will be scared as well when it comes to that. Yeah. Number 3, as I said, there will be a new normal, there will be a new world, whatever it will look like, and that's the problem. We really can't say at this point how it will look like, and that makes planning very difficult. What we know is that we will live in uncertainty probably for a little while, at least longer. And what we also know in this new world is what we already can say, because of what this crisis does to us as humans, is that our awareness of community, our own freedom to go out when we want or to do what we want, so the awareness of our own freedom and the awareness of planet Earth, that will definitely increase and rise. And last but not least, finally, I come back to content marketing. Content marketing for sure can set the tone for future success. Yeah, it will be one of the key points. Why? Well, on one hand, people need something to look forward. We all do. People have time to discover new things now as well, most likely, or many of us at least, and people need new communities. Yeah, I already mentioned it before, communities, big thing at the moment. So how to get prepared for the new world? Because there, everything can happen pretty much. Difficult. Yeah, something I constantly try to understand as well. But what I share with you is my current state, where I feel it will go. So how can we get prepared? One, try to understand what the new normal could look like from different perspectives. So I really would recommend you not to just say, okay, it will be over in, I don't know, end of May or end of June, and that's it. Yeah, that would be very, very risky because we simply don't know it at this point. So try to plan ahead with 2 to 3 scenarios. And adapt your business model if possible. Yeah, I will explain right after what that means to plan ahead with 2 to 3 scenarios. And the other thing is, in these scenarios, you should include definitely 2 things. One is your online presence, no big surprise there, but I really would recommend you to have a communication strategy and a content plan ready, because you will not be the only one who goes online. Everyone who hasn't done it yet will go online, and everyone who is already online will actually level it up. So that's one thing. And the other thing, and that's the 2 methods I will introduce you, put the focus on responsible storytelling and human-centered content marketing, because based on what we already know, it's very, very likely that these things will work better in the future. So this is 2 things you can prepare yourself for what's coming after. So I will talk you through that now, these models. So how to plan your content marketing then when entering a new world. Number 1 goes back to what we had with the crisis as well. Set realistic goals. Yeah, you can do that with a model like SMART goals. There's many other models out there. So just try to be realistic and as specific as possible. I came up with 3 scenarios because I suggest to plan with 2 to 3 scenarios. I want to point out that at this stage very shortly that these of course are fictional, yeah, because I don't know either really how it will develop, so please don't take this for real. These are fictional examples, scenarios, and of course also fictional goals, but I talk you through now what the difference could be. So scenario 1 could be that the crisis has ended and we want to do an offline event in November. So the goal for this could be that we want 300 participants at the event Tech Trends After COVID-19, as I said, fictional, at ICT Hub on the 5th of November. And because we know from the crisis, digital will be more important than ever, we will also want to have additional 200 participants live for Q&A. So they can send from home or wherever they are, they can send in live the questions. Yeah, and the target audience is in Serbia. So scenario 1. Scenario 2, there is a second COVID-19 wave in winter coming. I mean, hopefully not, but who knows? So what would be a realistic goal for this scenario? That we say we do a Tech Trends Easy to Use event, a virtual event with 300 participants, also organized by ICT Hub. Yeah. Scenario number 3, the crisis is still ongoing. I mean, I really don't think that will be, that we cannot recover. But scenario 3, we are still in the same situation as we are at the moment. And we want to do a virtual event, Tech Trends We All Meet, on 5th November with 500 online participants in the Western Balkan region. So because we are all in the same boat and the crisis is still ongoing, we widen it up a little bit to the Western Balkan. Organized by ICT Hub. So these are 3 different scenarios, as I said, all fictional. So what do I do with the 3 scenarios now? I start to use the human-centered design. What is human-centered design? It actually comes from product development, and what it does is pretty simple. It puts the human in the middle of your solution. Yeah. That means you have to look very closely, because you put the human in the middle of your solution. You have to look very closely to who are you talking to. Yeah, I mean, it's always important, crisis or not, but now it's even more important. So I would really recommend you to kind of create a target persona or a target group profile to create your ideal customer. You can Google that easily. There are very good examples online of a target persona profile. What do you do in these profiles? You think about a name, age, gender, demographics, behavior, hobbies, social media preferences, and so on. And in our times, even more, focus on their needs after and during the crisis, as well as concerns and struggles. Yeah. So what do I mean with that? I show you again in a very simple example. For our 3 scenarios, I said, either way I want to do this event, I have to think about my target group. And I decide I want at my event entrepreneurs on one hand, yeah, ideally tech entrepreneurs, and on the other hand, students, tech students. So I think about who they are. I see they are a bit mixed up there. Sorry about that. But very simple, you see it. I just go for a gender, a age, and profession, and where they come from. That's the demographics. I didn't even give them a name there, but if you do it seriously, you should. And now I have a very simplified version of what questions are important to understand, what we should do. So question number 1 is, how does the persona benefit from the event? Yeah, and this is now for the entrepreneur. So in scenario 1, where there's an offline event, networking, easy. Yeah, for scenario 2, I would say it's tech tips when we have the virtual event. And scenario 3 is tech guidance, because we have been in the crisis for so long. So I only put one example there to keep it simple, but in real, there should be, I would say, at least 5 each. Yeah, so there's a lot for scenario 1. It could be meeting investors, exchange with the peer groups, and of course, they can also be the same. Yeah, exchanging with the peer group should also be in scenario 2 and 3. But just for visualization in this example, you see that there's differences, how they benefit from the event. So question number 2 is then, how does the persona feel when he is in need of your solution, so your event? Yeah, so in scenario 1, it's an offline event as we know it, but we haven't been maybe for quite a while. Yeah, so he might, if it's one of the first offline events this persona, the entrepreneur, is going, he might feel a bit insecure. Hopefully not in November, but in our example, maybe he feels a bit insecure. Scenario number 2, the entrepreneur might feel frustrated because we got hit by a second wave. Yeah, we were already better, we were out again, but now we are back in because there's a second wave. Scenario 3, we're still in the crisis, so probably feels desperate. Yeah, again, very simple examples here, but you should go in depth, really try to understand, and we had it in the crisis as well, try to put yourself in the shoes of the target group, the target persona you're talking to, and really think, how do you feel? How do they feel? Why is this so important? Because, for example, if you know that your target persona most likely feels desperate or frustrated, that there you can actually tune the tone of what you tell them. Yeah, you can form your brand voice with that, your tone of voice. How do you talk to them? I need different content if I feel insecure or desperate, and you can shape your content around that. Yeah. Next question, what does the persona feel when he found your solution, so the event? Scenario number 1, as we said, maybe it's one of the first offline events, careful. Yeah, still a bit insecure. Again, this is your chance to provide the target persona with content that he feels safe, because he's very careful. Yeah. Scenario number 2, relieved. Maybe because he thinks, okay, this is a good event, it's the second wave, I joined it. Yeah. Scenario number 3, curious but doubtful, because it's been going on so much, and pretty much everyone does now online events, so why should this be different? So here we would need content to make the entrepreneur understand that he doesn't need to have any doubts, and tell him why he should join. So you see different scenarios, different emotions, and different emotions need different content. Yeah, that's the main message of this approach. And last but not least, where do I find the persona online? Very important. Well, for the entrepreneur here, I have Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, can be anything else. As I said, the example is purely fictional. That means, of course, that I put my content there. Yeah, and not anywhere else, because I have to go, especially when digital marketing is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. You have to go where your target personas is, and not just what channel you like most. Yeah, you have to move as much as possible to your target personas. So really try to find out, where do I find them online? Where do they spend most time? And spend your resources in there. So this is this example. Then I'm moving on to responsible storytelling. Yeah, we had human-centered design now. Now we look at the second one, which is responsible storytelling. So responsible storytelling is based on a so-called responsible business framework. And I want to really very shortly introduce you what this is. Yeah. This is a framework by an American consultant, Carol Sanford is her name, and basically what she says is that in the future, the framework is about a couple of years old. It's not brand new now. She says that it's not only about the customer anymore in the future, but also about co-creators. So co-creators is your team, your supply chain, everyone you are working with. It's about planet Earth, yeah, environment. We have to look about that as well and make a stand as a business. And it's about community. What community are we working in, investing in? And then it's about if available or existing investors and partners. So she says it won't be enough to only have your customers defined happy in the future, but that you serve a broader group of stakeholders, and your communication should serve them too. Based on that is responsible storytelling, so that you not only talk to your customers, but also talk about these other responsible fields. So in other words, or more simple words, responsible storytelling is focusing on content and messages that tackle social issues, environmental issues, community or health issues. So let me give you a very simple example. For example, Heineken for years focused on advertising and focusing on football. Yeah, their target group was football fans. First, it was only male football fans sitting on the sofa drinking Heineken and enjoying football matches. Then it was men and women enjoying football, and they changed their focus completely. And they are focusing, for example, now on non-alcoholic beer, which goes into health issues, and they're focusing on social issues as well. I included an example in my presentation. So not to talk about football anymore, but to talk about some social issue. This is responsible storytelling. Yeah, so I show you a few very simple examples. The big ones all do it already. Yeah, the big companies for years now. Yeah, it becomes bigger and bigger. So example number one, I hope you can see properly. This is Coca-Cola. Yeah, Coca-Cola has this poster advert, closed minds can't open eyes. And then I hope you can see it. There's a can with laugh can. Yeah, so it's not about dancing anymore with Coca-Cola or whatever. It's really about be open-minded, open your mind. Yeah, love for everyone. They had a huge campaign, Love is Love, where they supported the LGBT community, for example. This is responsible storytelling, yeah, to tackle one of those issues and not just think about the most fancy video. big thing also for environment, has been around for years now, is recycling and fashion waste. So H&M is very big in that. Don't let fashion go to waste. They have huge campaigns around that. And number 3, I mentioned it already, is Heineken, for example, with the 0.0 alcohol, now you can. So they made a very conscious decision, and actually a year ago launched the biggest campaign for a non-alcohol beer ever in budget. So big companies change, and what the crisis tells us as well is that exactly those values, community, planet Earth, community co-creators will become more and more important, and that's why we should talk about it. I added here, as you can see, 5 links of videos. They're very good examples for responsible storytelling. You have Heineken in there, you have H&M in there, you have Samsung in there. So have a look to see very good example of responsible storytelling. How would it work on a smaller scale for you as a startup? One more example, and then I'm already coming to the end. You could simply choose one responsibility field of the ones mentioned. Let me just show you that one more time. So one of those 5, customer, co-creators, planet Earth, community, or partners, investors. So you choose one. Here, storytelling idea number 1, I have planet Earth for scenario 1, so for the offline event. So I want to do storytelling content about planet Earth. What could that be for scenario 1? For example, that at the event we don't use plastic bottles. And how can we tell the content? We do a video of delivering the glass bottles, and we communicate how much plastic was saved by actually not using plastic. That would fall into planet Earth. Second example is responsible traveling. So how much CO2 emission is saved if people don't travel by plane, but speakers actually arriving by car? As I said, at the moment, not possible, but will be a huge topic when it's possible again in our scenario 1. Scenario 2 and 3 is a storytelling idea number 2. I take the responsibility field of co-creators, which could be the tech support, in a virtual event, and the team that is working on that. What could I do for that as an idea? I could do a series of behind the scenes, how we organize a conference. We also spoke about transparency would fall into this. And we could simply introduce the team and the supply chain or everyone who is involved. That's already storytelling as well. Responsible storytelling. And the last idea I want to share would also be for scenario 2 and 3, community. So to build up a community online, of course, with our event, that we offer webinars for free, or the presentations afterwards for free, which you get as well. Or it could also be, for example, to bring food to elderly people, or that you, as we said in the crisis tips as well, that you actually make a stand and engage your brand in some of these outer activities. All falls into responsible storytelling. Some of it I think is very logical and common sense, but it is, so probably some of you already do some kind of responsible storytelling, maybe without knowing it, maybe with being aware of it. But my big message is here, focus on it. Focus on it. It will be, no matter what scenario we're entering, it's one of the few things we can say at this point, it will be more important and more popular than ever. And people will look out for it. They had enough of fictional advertising. So for a while, we can say that responsible storytelling will be the big thing. The same with the human-centered design. You need to look as closely as possible at your target audience, because we need it at this point. So these are the 2 approaches I wanted to go deeper into. Of course, there's a lot of other things around, but first of all, I didn't want to overload information in one presentation and in 1 hour, but also, to be honest, as I mentioned, the truth is we are also figuring out. You know, it's the crisis we are in, and it's not the new world yet. So we really have to wait and see and plan in different scenarios and work with what we have. And my tips would be these two approaches, the human-centered approach with target groups and the responsible storytelling. So if you would follow now the examples I showed you, you would hopefully have already quite a little bit of ideas and content ideas you could have for now or for the future entering the new world. I would highly recommend you to have a content plan and a content strategy. As I said before, unfortunately, that's a lecture or a session on its own how to do that, but very briefly, how you can do a content plan. Put it in a Google Sheet. You see here a screenshot of one of my old content plans. Just put the channels you use, the channels where your target groups are online, put them horizontal, no, landscape-wise, and you on the other side you have the dates and the timeline, and then just put in what you will publish on what day with the ideas you have. Provide a little bit of a content mix. Think of channels of your target audience will like as well. Also think of personal content. I'm pretty sure, even maybe not right now, but I'm pretty sure newsletter will have a new rise as well, because we need this personal approach in these times. Yeah, if you have a content plan, be aware it never happens as planned, so don't get frustrated with that, but it is a calendar for you, and it also shows you on what journey you take your audience, your target group. And last but not least, content marketing has always been about observing, analyzing, and adapting. That will not change. That will just become even more important. So I highly recommend you don't be too strict to yourself. Just try what you can do, observe. There is no right or wrong. There's just trying and learning and find your way. And I hope some of the tips I shared will help you with that. So that's it from my side. If you want to follow us, please do so on Instagram, on Happito, on LinkedIn. We will share some tips there as well. We're preparing something at the moment. We'll probably start next week or the week after. Yeah, and good luck. All the best. Stay healthy and safe. And don't forget my favorite quote: if we change the way we communicate, we can change society. And I would add, now we actually can survive any crisis, hopefully, as well. So with that, I will give back to Milos, and maybe we have some questions. Thank you guys at this point.
Christina, thank you very much for the very useful presentation, very straight to the point, and thank you. It was amazing.
I hope it was useful.
I enjoyed it. I think it was useful, and I see that we have a confirmation of that in the chat. Vladimir says thank you, as well as Victoria. And Victoria has 2 questions for you.
Okay.
I'm going to read the whole question. Great presentation, Christina. Thank you and danke. Two quick questions. The first one. In relation to communities, do you think they can be commercialized in this time of abundance of free tools and free webinars, podcasts, and other content? And the second question would be, what, in your point of view, are the future-proof social media to transact digital business models? You want to go the first one? Do you want to repeat the first one?
Yes, I think the first one was about if...
relation to communities, do you think they can be commercialized in a time of abundance of free tools?
It's a very good question. I mean, I think it's possible, actually. Yeah, but you have to be aware. It's really, I'm a communication person. So for me, it's not very much about what tools. Of course, you need to be set up and appropriate. But for me, it's really mainly about content. And I really believe if you very difficult to answer that without knowing what you're doing. But I think if you really focus on what you are as a brand, yeah, I mean, we also have to be aware with digital marketing rising so much, the competition gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So one of the biggest advantages you have is to be your own brand and focus on that. And if you can build something around that, really around that, and make it exclusive, I think it's doable. But obviously you have to understand people are still confused at this point. Yeah. So if it's not something you really need urgently, or you have a big name already, it's a very hard time to build that up, you know, because the offer we have out there is huge at the point. We are confused. Some of us looking for the fast solution, some of us looking for slower solution, are not ready to do anything. So it's very, very tricky. So long story short, maybe not a straight answer to your question, but I think give yourself time. It is the time to start. Yeah. Go as close as you can to your target audience. Yeah. And be patient for building it up. But I think it is possible, and it is possible without inventing everything from scratch, because that's also not what we need. Again, we are in a crisis. We are not in this new world, new normal, whatever it will look like. We're in a crisis. So have understanding, and don't overload me as well with hundreds of new stuff. Yeah, I really wouldn't focus on that at this point, because it's not the time.
Thank you for that long answer. And
sorry.
No, take as much as time you need. And the second part of the question, what in your point of view, are the future-proof social media to transact digital business model?
Can you, I didn't quite understand the question, sorry.
I'm just reading what it's written. What in your point of view are the future-proof social media to transact digital business models? If you need any additional information, I will please call Victoria to write a follow-up question and just give us some more detail.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It sounds very complex, and it is. Is it maybe the proof that social media will support future business models? Or I'm sorry, I'm really not 100% sure if I get it right.
Victoria will type a follow-up question with more specifics. So we're waiting.
Okay.
To type in.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah. While we wait, probably for Victoria to type in the question, how would you approach to just following up on a free tools and how to charge the webinars and everything? What did I get it right? Just want to check it with you. So right now is a good time to start and build it up for free. And then when we enter the new world, a new normal, whatever that might be, we can actually charge it again, or don't charge it at all. What's the like?
It depends. That's why I mentioned as well, it's for me difficult to understand, to know in what industry you're in. You know, it really depends a little bit as well what industry you're working in. But I basically, you understood it right. Yes, I think it's the time to start. But as I've mentioned, we are worried about money, so not many of us will be ready now to pay for a new membership and things like that. Yeah, and again, we are in the crisis. We are not planning for the next year because we don't know what our new normal looks like. Yeah, we don't know. So yes, it's the time, and yes, it's the time, in my opinion, if possible, for you to start it for free. Yeah. Later on, of course, if you can provide the content, if you build it up, I would slowly start, but for new features as well. You know, not really for what you have provided for free, but actually for new features, for new content.
Okay, because ICT Hub has launched the eHub, our platform. That's what we were wondering. We launched it right now because we know that the content and the value is needed. Yeah. So we want to like put everything in one place and just provide value across the board. And we're just wondering what's going to happen with that. So just regarding that aspect. In the meantime, while we were discussing this, we got an explanation from Victoria.
Okay.
I was wondering how she, as a digital marketing person, perceives current social media channels, which, in her point of view, will be most useful to take digital business post-crisis.
Aha. Okay, so what social medias channels I feel will be the most successful ones post-crisis?
Yeah.
I think there will pop up quite a new sales channels. Yeah. Is this like, okay, we can't really check now. For sales, I feel that the existing ones will all probably level up their capability. Personally, I believe that tools like Zoom, I think it's not really social media, but it's online meetup tools, they will have a big rise. Yeah, and I don't want to name too much companies because I don't have a personal preference, but that's where technology will win. Yeah, and there is so many, it's almost like with the electronic cars, you know, what was not affordable, and I will drop one name, I hope that's okay. For example, like Cisco, who has telepresence where you really feel like you sit in the same conference room. So they sell hardware where you really have the same table in Tokyo and in Belgrade, and you really feel so, or WebEx, very expensive app. So I think with the electronic car, maybe with the Tesla, it will come down and it will become affordable for all of us. So that's for sure one of the winner, but that's of course not social media. For social media, I'm really scared to give any prediction, to be honest. I feel that the existing one will survive. I think that social media, we can actually rely on the trends we're looking at, because what happened is we are online, we're just even more online. And the prediction basically was that Facebook is now plus 30 and will decrease. Also, they are so far ahead that they will remain number one for the next 5 years. Obviously, Instagram is rising like crazy. Instant messenger tools like Spark will take the opportunities and so on. CMS or administration tools like Trello or others, they will have a huge rise as well. But for the social media, I believe it will continue growing as it was predicted, because I personally believe, but honestly, I want to give you a very honest answer. I wouldn't dare to say anything at this point, because I don't see any clear development. The truth is that we will move more and more online. So the ones that figure out that we can have everything in one, for example, that I can have a call on Messenger with horrible quality and zero data protection, but still everyone that I can do in one, I think they will be the winners. So if you maybe watch out for that, I think you have a good chance to follow the successful ones.
Yeah, well, just a follow-up from my side.
Good.
Regarding the social media. I mean, I have a feeling that people are getting annoyed more and more on Facebook, on Instagram, because they get piled up with a lot of things. Like, you get drawn into that circle, but afterwards you feel so tired because you're spending time on Instagram scrolling down the photos, but every other post is actually sponsored. There's something trying to sell you something. So I think that social media will be challenged, but direct contact with people. It's gonna, like you said during your presentation, during your lecture, direct contact and personalized contact and personalized content is actually the thing of the future. I want to be special. I want to be treated as by name, not by number of users. And I think the social media will be challenged, but for example, something else will pop up. I think the LinkedIn is the only social media right now that actually has a growth, rapid growth, because of being the professional network and leveraging the good sales channel for B2B, especially this time of crisis. I think that's one of the important things. But everything else, Facebook, Instagram, they're challenged. They're probably going to drop in usage. But what about TikTok, Snapchat? What's going to happen then? And that those social media are exploding right now.
Yeah, TikTok is exploding. Yeah. Definitely. And more and more, it's not for kids anymore only. Yeah. So it's TikTok is definitely exploding. It for sure will not be the only one. But I wanted to say one more thing. I come back to the same thing. You know, it's important to follow trends. But in my opinion, and I know there are marketers out there, they will tell you something different, which is totally fine. But in my opinion, if you want to be successful as a brand on long term, you have to look at the trends, but you have to look even closer where your target audience is moving. Yeah. If they follow trends, great. If they are in an age group that they don't follow trends, don't go on TikTok if they are not there. You know, so that's something just to keep in the back of your mind. It's important that you follow the trends. It's important that you know what's going on out there, but it's more important that you keep learning and following your target audience, because they are the ones you're talking to, and they are the ones that can help you to reach your goals. Yeah. But Milos, I want to add something, because I fully agree with what you said. I think, and it goes back to the community, I think social media will only be, I think we will all choose, I don't know how many communities we will be able to handle, but I think we will all choose certain communities, and within them we will stay. Yeah. And even now there's statistics already that in a Facebook group you get, which is a community in a way, you get 10 times more visibility with any Facebook newsfeed. Yeah. Because there's absolutely no way anymore, and I agree with you. Now everyone is trying to sponsor, and because we're panicking. Yeah, it's normal. So I think it goes back also to the community, that we will choose our community and we'll spend most time there. And when they go somewhere, we probably will follow.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Just another one. Probably I'm way out there, but I want to check with you the short tip to the people how you can actually build a community right now.
I am a content marketing person and and not a community builder person, but I'm happy to share. I think you have to unite them with something new, invite them and give them exclusive content there. Yeah, which is, again, I would do it as I shared in the presentation. I would sit down and write down what content is relevant, because there's so much offer out there at the moment. If you give me content that's not relevant for me the first time, I'm out. I'm at the next provider. You know, I don't have time to wait for you to give me the right content. So I would start small. I would go to the social media channels where I know they are, where I am. I would definitely work with the existing community I have, and I would write down or really work on 5, 10 ideas. Now the moment has come that the cat is decided to put it. And really try to get them there with exclusive content. Yeah, with engaging, with sharing. I said it's also the time to collaborate. Yeah, to also go in that direction, to gather there, to see what can we do together. Yeah, maybe to support. I've seen it here in Ljubljana that organizations gather, or communities gather to support homeless people. Yeah, because they suddenly everything is closed. You know, I mean, it's a problem, and that they, for example, support them, and 1 week these people drop off food, the other week another group of people. So this kind of thing. So but it all needs to align with the needs and interests and based on the target persona. Yeah, new, fresh, together. And I would probably write down, as I said, 5 to 10 things first, and then start to introduce that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christina, for really useful information and useful lecture. I enjoyed it. I hope that our participants and attendees enjoyed it as well as our whoever watched us on YouTube right now. I hope they also got the value from it. And the video will stay on YouTube for everybody to see and follow, get back to it and consult it if they need it again. We're gonna continue with this type of online meetups in the future every Friday. I hope we're gonna stay consistent on that every Friday at 1. We're gonna talk about different topics regarding the startups and innovation ecosystem. Christina, once again, thank you for your time. It was wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
As always, it was a pleasure having you. I hope we're going to continue working on some other topics and other meetups and maybe possibly a series, but we're going to see it. For everybody else, participants, thank you for staying and tuning up for over an hour with us. I'm going to follow up with you and see what you think about this lecture. Thank you everybody, and stay safe. Bye.